Hello, hello, welcome to Season 5 House Play D&D, the Explainer podcast where one experienced dungeon master and one fellow scriptwriter discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey and my illustrious guest this week is Abby of Tabletop Curiosities. Hello, Abby.
Hello.
Thank you for coming back. After the vampire session, we needed you. We were desperate.
Oh, well, I think this time we have been very appropriate in terms of
Yes.
vampires and what we're moving on to today. I think very exciting.
That is very true. I hadn't even thought about that. This is actually as appropriate as it gets. Okay, so this season we're doing things slightly different. Our guests have selected an enemy from a list that I've supplied, and they're going to educate us as to why we should use these creatures. And of course, I will interrogate, which, as we know, I never interrogate because I instantly fall in love once the person convinces me of the creature to use. So, without further ado, Abby, what is the episode on this week?
Oh, it's a werewolf.
That is so good. Let's get to it. So today's episode is on werewolves, everyone's favorite furry fantasy, leveled up by curse. Abby, I've maintained eye contact with a Brazilian wandering spider for 2 hours now. Do I ask her out or do I leave the poor girl alone in the corner of my living room ceiling? What am I doing?
Get it in a glass and get it out of the window, you insane person.
All right, so you're all right with. Oh, no, do you know what? I'm not having this. You're fine with werewolves, vampires, but spiders, bin.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I
all
mean,
right.
unless we're going full Lolf's Dominion, we are worshipping the spiders. I think they're just best left outside.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Like Anastasia left outside alone. Right. Questions. Why did you pick werewolves?
Well, yeah, we did vampires, and I felt a little bit bad. You've got to keep both sides happy. You
You
know,
have.
it's a long-term debate.
Mm,
And as you know, Curse of Strahd was took my heart, was my first D&D module. And although it is vampire centric, there
yeah.
are a significant amount of werewolves in there as well. And they're part of that same lore. So I just love the spooky kind of vibes.
Yeah, 100%. See, I've already convinced we don't even need to continue. I'm just like, yeah, whatever you say, this is brilliant. What kind of stats does a werewolf have? Do you have them at hand?
I do. So
Okay.
they're not bad. They're not the same when we're talking other things in that world like vampires.
Yeah.
It's not the same. A werewolf is not a big bad. It I mean it could be if you amped it up a bit, but
Yeah.
in general, as written, they're going to be a lower rating. So we're talking challenge rating 3.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
not bad at all.
Not bad. Unlikely, I think, that most DMs would use just the one. You'd probably
Yes.
have a pack or some kind of clan. In the lore of it all, they do live together in those kinds of little societies of lycanthropes. So I think you'd likely come across quite a few if it was combat or roleplay, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. And in the in Strahd, they are in their own camp, aren't they? Which isn't a
Yeah,
spoiler. You kind of naturally come across that as part of the story.
and it makes sense with the law. You know, there's always going to be that little pack of werewolves that are trying to build a society and kind of deal with the curse that they've all been living under as well. um
Yes. Do they have any like strong stats or abilities that like people should DM should take on or like players should be aware of? Like the curse, for
um,
example, how does that work?
so you've got 3 forms with a werewolf, which
Okay.
I think is quite an interesting thing to play with as a DM. So
Mm.
you've got standard, it looks like a massive wolf and it's going to bite, it's going to do all of those kind of things. You've got a hybrid form where
Oh,
you
okay.
are in between. So like these lycanthropes have kind of got to terms with their curse and they're using it to their advantage, and being able to kind of be this hybrid. The AC also goes up when it's in a wolf or a hybrid
Oh,
form. So
okay.
they're
Yeah.
getting that kind of power up, that like raw moment of we're ready to fight can be a cool moment in itself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the humanoid form can be whatever you want it to be. It's humanoid, so it can be if you wanted that werewolf NPC to be a elf, it could be an elf. You want it to be
Nice.
a goblin, it could be a goblin. So it works with your story and how you want to put it together and gives that like switch up plot moment of maybe you
Yeah.
didn't know that this person was a werewolf and then all of a sudden they're sprouting ears and teeth and it's all happening. But they're definitely their most powerful when they're in their wolf or hybrid form.
I think like you just said a minute ago about them, in comparison to vampires, if we keep going back between the two, like, obviously vampires like a whole other like the difficulty of those, or even the spawnings are like hard. But like I
Yeah,
guess with these, like you said, it's like a pack mentality. So there's more of them. They're more of like a group enemy. Vampires not often with a lot of them. But they've got those free forms. So maybe for like RP, they work really well. Like in that set, I mean, vampires do as well. Both of them are such good storytelling creatures. But like you said, they can be from anything and can transform, and they've got different stats. So maybe it's just more about the excitement as a player that you get from it, and the DM telling that story.
yeah, definitely. And I think the stats like lean into that story a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Like they've got keen senses, so they get advantage on like smelling and hearing and like, chasing the party down. So they'd
Nice.
be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
tough clan to like run away from or have a chase scene with. They'd be pretty tricky. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I think also like with like vampires, you kind of just assume they're going to be bad. Like, they're kind of always sly and they're snaky and they're going to be trying to trick you. With the werewolves, you assume if it's the actual werewolf, fine, it's big bad, it hasn't got as much kind of like understanding of what's going on. But when it's in its human form, there's talking that can be had, right? Like you don't know whether this is like a neutral kind of NPC. It doesn't necessarily have to be an enemy.
absolutely. And especially if you've got vampires in that world and you're going for that classic horror vibe, then it's very likely that the werewolves are not going to be aligned with the vampire.
Yeah, yeah,
There's always that like old tension there and those like old feuds. So it gives that lore build as well to
yeah.
kind of choose a side. Do you want to fight with the werewolves? Do you want to fight against them? And yeah, a lot of really rich storytelling, I think.
So the next question usually is like, can you give an example of how DM could use them, or when you've encountered them? Obviously encountered them in Strahd, and if people haven't played that, don't want to spoil it too much. But like, have you DM'd werewolves before, or have you played and against werewolves outside of Strahd?
Yeah, I've from Strahd, I then stick a werewolf in fairly
Yeah,
regularly, to be honest. Because yeah, they're not as a big deal as vampires. You can't just put a random vampire in the world as
yeah, yeah.
easily as a pack of werewolves. And they do have the whole lycanthropy thing. So I did have a moment at one of my tables where somebody was bitten.
Nice.
They did say didn't save. They didn't make it's quite a low save, but for a low level party, you just never know what's going to come out on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dice, do you? So they didn't make it, and full moon was coming. So we had so much to play with. Um, Luckily, the player was very on board and just wrote it out, enjoyed the fun. Because I
Mm.
think you have to be careful as a DM with these kinds of things that change somebody's character.
Yeah, and if they assume that immediately it's going to, I mean, you're there to put it in for fun, right? You're never against the party, but there are players that are so precious with how things go that if they think that means they could lose their character, then you kind of lost a huge part of the party.
Yeah, yeah, and you have to navigate it as a DM based on your player.
Yeah,
If that's a heartbreak and they can't believe that this is happening to them and they don't want this whatsoever, you need to find a narrative that helps them solve that. It can be a
yes,
fun side quest.
yeah,
It's a curse mechanically because it's a curse, it's not the end of the world. Even
mm,
low level parties could maybe find a priest with certain spells that can help out and it just might mean that you just have to keep them in that kind of
like
it's a nightmare for my
suspense.
character. Yeah,
Yeah,
just for a
but
session or two, you
I
know?
think that's a great example of DMing there, like because we're talking about werewolves. Obviously, you then think of vampires, but even in your session where you've taken it in because you're inspired by Strahd, you thought about the fact that someone might not be up for it, but you want to keep the suspense going. You don't want them to be like invincible and can't be touched, right? Because why are they playing? But then you're like, yeah, maybe there's a priest. So you've already thought about how that world would work. Where these, if the werewolf's in that world, there's quite likely a priest who knows how to deal with a werewolf if needed, and
Absolutely.
it's quite important for people listening to like think about these things. Even if you're a player and it's not your world, and you come under like lycanthropy, maybe you go, I wonder if there's a priest that can sort me out. Do you know what I mean? It's like
That's it.
RPing that moment.
Yeah, and then the DM just is going to yes and that because it's like,
Yes.
thank you for doing that bit of work for me. We've solved the problem. Let's go. Let's go. Let's make some RP out of it.
Perfect. All right, well, the last question then, and this is always the toughest one. What is your least favorite enemy in D&D as of recent?
So recently, there was I was DMing, so it's
Okay.
entirely my fault.
Yeah, right. I
but,
mean, that's oh,
but I
absolutely
re
fine. It happens. Happens.
but I realized it wasn't a great move. The party were going across a mountain where a rock lives. So rocks are like these big birds in the D&D world.
Mm,
It's just a massive bird, massive levels of HP, and just not fun.
yeah.
All it does is it tries to take a player back to its nest.
Mm,
So constantly, that's all it was trying to do. And then there was a moment where I'm realizing I'm going too hard on being the rock right now because they're going to get taken away. And there's no
yeah.
way for the party at this level to recover this character.
Right.
So
Okay.
luckily, I did roll poorly on one thing, so I sort of made it like, oh no, he drops you, and oh, you took a bit of bludgeoning damage, but you're back with everybody. And I just
Yeah.
thought, I'm never doing that again. Absolutely not.
Do you know what? I think that's the first time someone on the podcast in like over what this is 110 episodes or so at this point that like someone has actually said, yeah, I did this, and actually with what I wanted to do, like I fucked up, and this is how I've got about that because that happens like at least once a session, right? There's a moment where it like the players play it differently to what you think, and then you go, right, well, that now doesn't work with not as in they've ruined your thing. You're thinking, how do I still fit it to work for them? And like you said, oh, rolled poorly. You've like they've dropped them. They've taken a little bit of damage, but that's better than losing the character. So, and that to them, they're like they didn't think about any of that. They're just like, holy shit, we nearly lost. This is like a
Yeah,
serious moment, you know. So I think that works
yeah,
really well. I think people can learn from that massively.
that's it. On paper, sometimes it looks like fun, and then you start doing it, and you think, oh no,
Yeah, I
it's not.
literally I had a session the other day where someone went to walk through a dungeon. The dungeon is made of flesh, and this door, like a trap, comes down in its teeth. And the guy like failed a dex save, got hit by the teeth, took 20 damage like outright. And then he went back and walked through the same door. It did it again. So he's now lost 40 HP in 2 turns. He's not in combat. He's just like, it's
Just
round the
loves
table
pain.
kind of and then he was like, actually, no, I don't think I'm going to help my party. And he walked back through it and luckily succeeded his deck save. And I'm like, you're going to kill yourself just from this trap. But obviously, I put the trap there. But after the second time, I was like, I'm going to get this guy killed just from his like stupidity. Like, I don't know what to do. I can't, the trap can't not work now. Do you know what I mean?
He's
It's like,
got lockjaw all of a sudden.
yeah,
Like,
like it's there. It's like this instantaneous thing. Like if he keeps failing saves, he's just dead accidentally. Like what do you do with that? So there are those moments when you go, I'm really relying on the player here to like help out as much as I'm giving.
yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Well, I'm definitely convinced by the werewolf. I'm definitely convinced by the werewolf. I've not used them in my session. I've had like a homebrew and a player has contracted lycanthropy through that being like this massive steel dog thing, and they were shitting themselves the whole time. They were really, and there were moments where the moon came out, they became a werewolf, but like a still version, and they were fighting things, but they were having to fight the party, and it was such a good kind of like BBG because they're like fighting like kind of a save to keep their sanity whilst
Yeah.
not wanting to hit the party. There is so much you can do with it. Um, okay, well, with that then, today's adventure is sadly come to a close. We're back again next week with the topic clownfish are all born male that then convert to female where required. When is it my turn to stop being a fucking loser? And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join on the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram at HousePlayD&D or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. Abby, where can we find your work? And it is fantastic.
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok at Tabletop Curiosities, and in the Etsy store.
and make incredible dice. So we'll put the link in the bio to all of this as always, and please do check out Abby's work. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Abby from Tabletop Curiosities.
Good day.